What happens when Hollywood legends show up totally plastered on live TV? Which guest made Johnny Carson fight to keep the show going? Today we reveal the 8 most drunk guests Johnny Carson ever had, and the moments are crazier than you think. But before we dive in, kindly subscribe to this channel. We're pushing toward 10K subscribers, and your support makes it happen.
What happens when Hollywood's biggest legends show up to live television completely wasted? Johnny Carson had no script for this, and neither did they. These 8 moments broke television. And we're about to break them all down for you. Kindly subscribe to this channel to help us reach 10K subscribers. It takes just 1 second and means everything. For 30 years, Johnny Carson ruled late-night television as its undisputed king. Every night, millions of Americans tuned in to watch Hollywood's biggest stars sit on that famous couch at NBC's Burbank studios. But here's what network executives never wanted you to know. Some of those stars arrived completely, spectacularly, embarrassingly drunk. And in an era before publicists, social media, and editing safety nets, it all aired live. Today, we're counting down the 8 most notoriously intoxicated guests ever to stumble through The Tonight Show. Let's get into it.
And the Epps be in California shooting a movie called The Stuntman, and he's with us tonight. Would you welcome Mr. Peter O'Toole?
Number 8. The legendary Peter O'Toole, star of Lawrence of Arabia and 7-time Oscar nominee. O'Toole didn't hide his drinking. He called his pre-show preparation a proper lunch. Translation: an entire afternoon consuming scotch. His most unforgettable appearance came in 1978, promoting the controversial film Caligula. Backstage staff confirmed he was well lubricated, having spent his afternoon at the hotel bar directly across from the NBC studios. Even drunk, his classical training never fully abandoned him. He launched into an unprompted 7-minute lecture on the decline of classical acting, delivered with perfect diction. Then, without warning, grabbed Carson's pen, leapt to his feet, and challenged Johnny to a fencing lesson right there on stage. Carson actually stood up and attempted to follow O'Toole's commands to lunge with conviction. The audience completely lost it. One Tonight Show writer called him the most eloquent drunk in television history. Subscribe to this channel. We're pushing toward 10K subscribers, and your support makes it happen.
And this is the first time we've had him on the show, or at least we've had a chance to meet. Would you welcome, please, Oliver Reed?
Number 7. Oliver Reed. The powerhouse British actor from Oliver had a reputation so wild that Johnny Carson himself made an unprecedented decision to cancel his 1973 booking before he set foot on stage. Reed had been scheduled to promote The Three Musketeers, but Carson's producers reviewed tapes of his recent TV appearances. On one Australian program, Reed had reportedly threatened to remove his trousers if the host kept asking about his drinking, and actually began following through before the broadcast cut to commercial. According to former NBC executive Dick Ebersol, Carson reviewed those tapes and canceled the booking entirely. Reed publicly fired back, calling American television too bloody timid. The door never reopened. As one Tonight Show writer summarized, he drank like it was his job and talked like it wasn't.
Not cheap. He's the most generous man I had, and I am very much in love with him.
Number 6. Zsa Zsa Gabor, the glamorous Hungarian bombshell, was a reliable Tonight Show favorite, until 1973, when vodka completely took the wheel. Trouble was visible the moment she came through the curtain. Her trademark runway walk was dangerously unsteady, one stiletto nearly catching in the carpet. Carson rose to help, and Gabor attempted to kiss his cheek but landed closer to his ear. Mid-answer, she tried sliding closer to Carson on the couch, nearly tipped sideways, and when he reached out to steady her, she loudly declared, "Johnny, you were trying to make the moves on me," before planting bright red lipstick directly on his mouth. Carson reached for his handkerchief while Gabor giggled uncontrollably beside him. She then leaned in and asked in a stage whisper the entire audience heard, "Why talk about boring books when we could discuss your bedroom, Johnny?" The crowd erupted. Carson looked genuinely alarmed. Eventually, she nearly fell completely off the couch, and Carson had to personally help catch her. Backstage summary: she came for charm, but vodka showed up first. Staff nicknamed future scheduling adjustments the Zsa Zsa Protocol.
Because I've always been in somewhat awe of you, and I did not know you at the time.
But we'd been on the same stage together.
Number 5. Orson Welles, director of Citizen Kane, operated by entirely different rules. When sober, His Carson conversations were genuinely extraordinary. But in 1975, he arrived having consumed multiple bottles of wine by backstage accounts. He settled into a reinforced guest chair, reportedly specially built for his visits, and immediately launched into conversation without waiting for Carson's first question. What followed was described by one Tonight Show writer as a masterclass in drunk eloquence. Wells delivered a 14-minute largely uninterrupted monologue covering Shakespeare, theater, and sharp Hollywood criticisms, all while visibly intoxicated. The most extraordinary moment, attempting to quote King Lear, forgetting the lines, and simply inventing new Shakespearean-sounding dialogue on the spot, delivered with such authority that only Shakespeare scholars would have noticed. By the end, Carson glanced at his watch and simply said, "We need to take a break." His backstage verdict. The genius was there. The sobriety wasn't. Yet, unlike nearly everyone else on this list, Wells kept getting invited back. Because even drunk, one NBC executive admitted, he was more interesting than most sober guests could ever hope to be.
In Mason, I used to have speeches like that went on for a page and a half.
Number 4. Number 4 might be the most jarring entry on this list, because the contrast between who Raymond Burr was on screen and who showed up that night was nearly impossible to process. Television's Perry Mason, the symbol of dignity and moral authority, arrived in 1970 nearly 40 minutes late and visibly intoxicated. Staff were completely shocked. Bell Top 3 coming. The most unbelievable of them all. Kindly subscribe right now. Every subscriber helps us reach 10K. Don't scroll past that button.
Aren't you supposed to ask me things?
Sure. Can I try this? Because people always kid to say it's just a prop.
Number 3. Dean Martin had built his entire career on the lovable, slightly tipsy entertainer persona. For years, insiders insisted the glass often contained apple juice, that the whole thing was performance. Carson was in on it, cheerfully setting up Martin's drunk humor with easy questions. In 1976, that truth played out on national television. Martin stumbled noticeably to the guest chair, eyes unfocused, slurring so pronounced his opening responses were nearly incomprehensible. Carson asked about an upcoming NBC special. Martin looked genuinely confused. "What special?" When Carson tried reminding him, Martin responded, "Oh, I thought I was here to talk to Merv," confusing The Tonight Show with The Merv Griffin Show. 2 minutes into the interview, Martin asked, "What time is it?" Carson was uncharacteristically shaken backstage. Dean made drunk look classy until it didn't. That wasn't the Dean Martin we know.
Time in my life. I wish to thank very much my director, Mr. Guy.
Number 2. Shelley Winters, 2-time Academy Award winner, was so consistently chaotic that Tonight Show staff maintained a standard protocol just for when she was booked. Her most notorious appearance came in 1974. From the moment she walked on, noticeably unsteady in suddenly too tall heels, chaos was guaranteed. She interrupted Carson mid-sentence before he even finished his introduction, talked over every question, turned to address the studio audience directly as if Carson wasn't sitting right there. When a young actor joined them on the couch, Winters placed her hand on his knee and announced his film isn't very good, but he's pretty to look at. Viewers watched rare visible frustration cross Carson's normally composed face. Camera operators caught him shooting desperate glances toward Ed McMahon, who simply shrugged helplessly. Then, the defining moment. Winters reached over and snatched Carson's note cards directly from his hands, throwing them over her shoulder, announcing, "You won't be needing these, Johnny. I'm much more interesting." Cards scattered across the studio floor. The audience gasped. Carson told his producer afterward, "If she's ever booked again, I'm taking that night off." She was blacklisted from the show for nearly 3 full years.
Towns, the hangings were all in public on the square, and people came for hundreds of miles around and turned it into a big...
Number 1. Truman Capote, the most unforgettable, uncomfortable, heartbreaking drunken appearance in Tonight Show history. Genius author of In Cold Blood, walked onto Carson's stage in 1980 and could barely make it from the curtain to the guest chair without stumbling. Capote slurred virtually every word from the opening second. His intended witty greeting emerged as near incomprehensible mumbling, forcing Carson to lean forward saying, "I'm sorry, What was that? He launched into a rambling story about Montgomery Clift, with no beginning, middle, or end, turned to Ed McMahon, and asked to sit in his lap because he looked so comfortable, like a teddy bear. McMahon's stunned expression became the night's defining image. 12 minutes in, Capote reached for a glass of water and nearly missed it entirely, sending water down his chin onto his shirt. He kept talking as if absolutely nothing happened. Large wet stain fully visible to millions of viewers at home. Carson called an early commercial break, a rare move reserved for only the most dire situations. The camera accidentally caught him exhaling with visible relief as it cut away, a moment never meant to broadcast, but aired due to the director's delayed reaction. Capote never appeared on The Tonight Show again. What made it so devastating wasn't just the spectacle. It was the heartbreaking contrast, one of America's greatest literary voices, reduced to incoherence on national television. A painful public glimpse of the personal demons that would ultimately consume him. Carson described it backstage as, not an interview, it was a hostage situation in slow motion. 8 guests, 8 unforgettable moments. And at the center of every single one, Johnny Carson. Redirecting, recovering, and keeping his composure through situations that would have broken any lesser host. From Capote's heartbreaking decline to O'Toole's fencing lessons to Oliver Reed. The man so wild he never even made it through the door. These moments remind us that live television is unpredictable, raw, and deeply, beautifully human. If you enjoyed this video, kindly subscribe to this channel.